executive echo, executive echo, executive echo, executive echo.
Welcome to Executive Echo. My name is Edwin Bruno. I'm a CEO and CVO from Smart Africa Group. Today, I'm happy to host Fredrik Max, who has a lot of hats to wear on his head, from creative, from business in terms of banking, from telco, from dealing with different entrepreneurs and SMEs, investors, and everything in between. In Swahili, we call kachumbari. And today, it's very interesting party to sit with you, Mr. Fred, because our main topic for today and for our listeners and viewers' expectation is to really to understand the part which most of the people they're not talking about, which is small media enterprise, SMEs and MSMEs. If you look in terms of the Tanzanian context, these are the ones which contribute above, I think, 95% of job contribution here in Tanzania. But also for the GDP economy contribution, I believe it's more than 30%. But we are not discussing that much. But based on your heart and the experience, we look forward to learn more and to have a proper discussion to understand the past, the future, and even right now what are kind of things which are being done. Fred, welcome to Executive Echo.
Thank you very much, Edwin. I'm humbled to be here. I think you're doing a fantastic job creating this platform for leaders to share their experience. Thank you and congratulations on that. By way of introduction, my name is Fredrik Max. I'm a banker. I work for Stanbic Bank Tanzania currently as the head of business and commercial banking. I have experience in telcos. I started my career in a telecom company, and I've worked in various banks in areas of corporate banking, business banking, and trade finance. So I'm very passionate about SMEs. In the current role that I have, I oversee that type of clients at the bank. So when you invited me for this, when I was invited for this discussion, I think I wanted to share my experience. And I believe many people will benefit from, my experience in that area. SMEs, as you've rightfully said, it's a segment that we say is underserviced, and that most of them are underbanked. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think the purpose for us to have this kind of reminder discussion, especially with the corporate experienced on-ground people like you, it's really to give the people a summary of course, your years of experience is just going to be this 1-hour book for each and every generation to listen, to read, and everything in between. But most of the people now they'll ask, what is SME? I understand SME, there are other people on the banking industry, maybe they might define it differently, people from the telecom, even the government and the policymaker. But in summary, if someone hears SMEs and MSMEs, what does that mean? What does that entail? And who's the SME?
Thank you very much. In my experience, and I would say if I am to summarize what an SME is, I think by definition is small and medium enterprises. The way you define it is in two categories, at least. One is the number of people that business employs. So example, from 1 to 5 or even 15 people, you'd call that a small business. And you have those that employ up to 60 people. So that is also an SME. And by way of turnover, the sales, the amount of sales that they do is from a zero turnover to at least, in my view, 7 to 10 billion per annum.
Okay.
So these are the businesses that have just been established, and they start doing business, they earn a revenue, And I would say those are SMEs. And it's a wide definition if you go to define subsegments of SMEs, because you have micro SMEs. These are the segments that you normally have maybe a family, husband and wife, whereby they're in the business and they're the business. So they don't pay themselves salaries, but they earn from that business. So they can separate business income from their personal income. So these are the businesses that broadly, out of the 3 million SMEs, estimated SMEs number in the country, you'd find a big chunk of that is this segment, micro SMEs. And then you have the small businesses, as I said, one employing 5 to 15 people. And then the medium SMEs, that these are the businesses that are transitioning in terms of, getting a big turnover in terms of sales. They employ a number of people, and they are on their journey to formalize their businesses. So that's how I would define the SME and MSMEs in this.
But now if you look in terms of Africa, and especially in Tanzania, in the context of SME, I just want to be clear so that the audience know that if they're included or not. You might define that it's a business of maybe between 1 to 5 to 10 or to whatever, but I understand sometimes there are people who are self-employed. They are not registered as business, but within their self-employment, they pretty much maybe, let's say, for example, if it's an artist, within the artist, you have like, a videographer, someone to produce the music. So you have like a dependent of 5 to 10 people. And when you get paid now, they get paid in terms of the normal personal account. Is that person an SME as well, or is self-employed? Because it's also cut in between. How do we define that category?
The way I would define that category is you'd find the definitions like sole proprietors, whereby these people are self-employed, but they've gone to the authorities' umbrella in terms of Tanzania context, and they've registered themselves as sole props, and they run their business and their income in their business account or personal account, either it depends, or a wallet, a mobile wallet. With now the gig economy now making strides in Tanzania, so you'd find people are earning a lot of money, but they're yet to register. They've not formalized. So you have influencers, for example, that are making money from the digital economy and influencing. You have artists, as you've mentioned, whereby they have a payroll, but they've not formalized. So they get paid in their personal account, and then they use the money to pay the people that they employ. I think my message to, or my advice to this type of segment is, it is important to formalize their businesses. Why? Because there's a certain level of growth that for them to be able to attain, they need to be formalized so that they can access capital, they can access markets that are beyond their reach. And things like incubators in this country are doing exactly that. I mean, educating these people that, by formalizing, you're able to be financially included and you can access loans. Although, from a personal banking point of view, they can access loans either through digital loans offered by MNOs and Telcos and fintechs, or from banks. But there's a limitation to that in terms of the extent to which they can grow. So it's important to formalize the business. And then another important aspect is, it is understood that to SMEs, not only the self-employed, one would say, because they are not separating their income, their business income from their personal income, any emergency, either an illness or a crisis, they can, take that business back to the drawing board in terms of you're paying because of financial literacy. So these businesses, they don't have insurance. These people, they don't have medical insurance, so they use the funding and they don't separate the books of accounts from a business and from that of their personal use in terms of expenses and whatnot, in terms of salary. So it is important to formalize. And my message or my advice would be, by formalizing, they are able to grow or attain the next level of growth.
Yeah. But now you see, when we talk about businesses, growth means capital injection. And most of these small businesses, even those people who are self-employed, they are looking in terms of the financial institution as a place to go whereby they can partner to help them grow in terms of either exactly what they are doing to support it, as maybe embedded financing or whatever, or maybe just to look in terms of the transactions so that they can give them a forwarded capital. But we have seen most of them, they are not privileged to get that services, because people, they see like, there is a bank, but for a bank to give me, or a financial institution to give me a financial growth capital loan, it's a lot of process. Someone said like, they want your house while you are just starting a business, you don't even have an house. It seems like they want your blood and each and everything in between. And because of that, most of the small businesses, they don't see the necessity of having a bank account. That's why we still have a lot of people who are doing business, but we say it's unbanked community of businesses. And due to that, we have seen other part of the financial institution, which now the telco, they are using technology and the way things are done in order to give them a certain portion or characteristic of capital, in terms of now people, they are not looking in terms of banks as a place, or banks or a financial institution as a place to get loan for growth, but they are starting to channel themselves to the telco so that they can help them to do so. Does that mean banks have stopped innovating, or does that mean banks, they feel like this is enough, they already have, and they don't look for the opportunity? Because as you said earlier, based on the population in terms of business, more than 95% of these SMEs, including the unbanked, they are the one running the employment. Most of the employment, 95%. The GDP, 30%. And there is a lot of cash businesses which have not been measured. What are the opportunity, and what are the financial institutions trying now to maybe come up with something in order to bank these people? Because now they are not banked, they are, I could say, telcos, which also they are doing the banking for the same.
Okay, an interesting perspective. I would say the SME space is the next battleground for banks and telcos and financial institutions. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why in a short while. Access to capital. Mm-hmm. Although it is viewed as the major issues that SMEs are facing, and I'm not saying that it's not an issue, it is still a big issue. But I think what we found out is access to information and financial literacy is the biggest concern or issues to SMEs. Why? Because knowing the importance of being financially included helps them to access capital. Yeah. So it's a chicken and egg situation. Oftentimes, you've mentioned about banks asking for collateral, such as houses, cars. It's because they don't know these SMEs. And how a bank or a financial institution can know these SMEs is by them keeping the records. So we in our incubator, for example, we are teaching small business owners the importance of keeping records. Yeah. Be it open a bank account, and we've simplified, most banks have simplified account opening. So in terms of, entry level, 2 documents only required, TIN number and a business and a NIDA number. So that way you're included in the financial sector, and by way of that, the banks are able to, score their credit worthiness and provide capital. So I'll start by saying, first, the SMEs need to understand that they need to be included in the financial sector. They have to start somewhere. That is one. The second bit is when it comes to access to capital. By you banking, your records are kept, and the banks are able to assess affordability and viability of your business. So the appetite to lend into that space, once you have a record of these businesses, it becomes easier. So that is one way. And we've seen over the past few years, the fintechs are coming to innovate in that space by innovating products that helps the SMEs to transfer record keeping from pen and paper to digital solutions. So we have fintechs in this market that are doing that, and we see partnerships between banks and fintechs. And even telcos, in terms of, as a bank, what we do best is we assess risk, and we've been in that journey for quite some time. So we have experience. We also provide, capital to these partnerships and whatnot. And for me, I think I wouldn't say that maybe the banks alone or the telcos alone. I think the opportunity is massive, and it calls for collaboration. So a friend of mine once said, cooperation is the new competition. So you need to collaborate and compete in order to serve. The cake is too big, and I believe everyone can benefit. Coming to your point in terms of have the banks stopped innovating? I think that's an interesting question or perspective. The way I view it, majority of the capital going into the retail banking, and by this I mean government employees or corporate employees of corporates, way of personal loans. It's easy because you deploy your capital, the returns are attractive, but also the collection is not hassle-free to collect. There's what we call deduction at source, whereby they deduct from your employer even before you get your salary. So that has been going on for quite some time, but I think now we see some pockets of innovation. Banks partnering with fintechs or telcos to come up with solutions to SMEs, and that will help. And that's why I said the next battleground for banks would be the SMEs. And if you look at the top 10 banks, most of them, from their strategy and what they're talking about is SMEs. SMEs sustainability. So that is the new area where for sustainability, you have to serve the community. And this, as you've mentioned, they're the largest employer, not only in Africa, but across the globe.
I'm glad to hear from you that, especially the financial institutions, banks and telco, they are now happy and open to do those kind of partnership. But we have been seen in a different perspective, especially for the innovators and fintech. They are really still skeptical because they are pushing for those partnerships. But most of the question is, are these big guys ready and open for partnership for growth, or you guys are partnering to learn? After you understand how it works, you fire the partner and then you continue to do what's need to be done. So is it partnership for growth or partner to learn?
Okay, a tough question because you're talking about industry practice. And I'll speak on Stanbic and the way we view partnerships. I mean, at Stanbic and the way we view partnerships, we do believe that there is stuff that the fintechs can do better than we do. And there's stuff that we can do better than them because we have that experience. Things like risk management in terms of assessing risk, providing capital, advisory. That area is an area of strength, and we would like to collaborate with partners that are innovating in areas that we might not have experience or the agility to do so, because we are regulated as banks by the Central Bank of Tanzania. I'm happy to note that the Central Bank has been very, very supportive in terms of creating the environment for fintechs to innovate. I saw the other day call for applications on fintech sandbox, which is a great milestone to reach here. And I think kudos to people like Zahoro of Tanzania Startup Association. I think he's pushed boundaries and getting the stakeholders together, and yourself, the industry leaders to do that. So the way I view it is, it's not a partnership whereby I want to learn what you do, and then after some time, then I'll do it myself.
Hostile takeover.
I mean, if one is viewing that way, I do believe it's short-sighted, because, as I said, you're talking, for example, domestic trade alone. It's a 15 billion industry in Tanzania. So I believe the cake is big. for each and everyone to benefit. And you enter into a partnership from your area of strength, and you work with a partner. For example, if you're solving for SMEs in the distributor space, as a bank, we might not have the necessary, last mile in terms of branches across the country. We've recently launched our agents banking, which is doing very well in terms of getting the transactions and throughput. It will take time, and these things you don't expect to serve the last mile in year 1 or 2 or even 3. So there are fintechs that have innovated and they work with these distributors, for example, and they're able to reach them where they are. For us, we do have the capital. We do have experience in assessing risk, and we partner and we share the revenue. It's a win-win situation. That way you're able to grow the industry. Because I don't think anyone can do everything alone. You just need to pick your areas of strength. I'm concentrating on that. I will partner with people that we have mutual interest. And I think I've talked a lot on this topic because I think it's it's what we get from these innovators. Sometimes they say that we need to sign NDAs, which is important. But you and I know. In this market, so ideas, no one has the monopoly of good ideas. So I do believe there's a room for mutual benefit partnerships, beneficial to all parties. And there are areas whereby the banks will continue to dominate. Corporate finance, it's a growing country. This economy is growing. I know today we're talking about SMEs, but the corporate finance is still an industry that is growing. We see a lot of FDIs that is coming thanks to the efforts of the sixth government. So the inflows help. So there's an opportunity for banks also to continue to leverage and from the areas of expertise. So corporate finance, swaps, financial instruments. I do believe, and now the fintechs are raising, liquidity in terms of foreign currency from, global markets. The banks can help those guys in terms of how to, mitigate forex exchange losses and whatnot. So I do believe and I advocate for win-win partnerships.
And I'm glad you talk about the banks and partnerships. You actually have strength in terms of managing risk. You can also managing the investment. You understand the capital. You understand the market. You do all the review. And there was this other time I was sitting with one of the local investor and international investor together with some few innovators in tech startup. And this local investor was asking a question saying that if you are having a product, you're disrupting somewhere, maybe on a financial institution, pretty much maybe banks. And the banks that have seen, based on that partnership, there is numbers which are coming up. And they are willing to continue sharing, we call sharing the revenue. And they understand that the business is going somewhere. Why are they not putting capital injection into that business or into that SME, or even advising or selling maybe a special vehicle in terms of investing on this local startup for them to scale? And we leave this startup to go outside and start raising capital with insane amount of equity request. While here locally we have people, they have money, and but they're missing their local bank to help them invest on this emerging technology. But most of the financial institutions, they want them to be safe, go. And we have seen sometimes when there is a government bond here, it's oversubscribed. Maybe when there is a, somewhere someone is willing to put FDR for the money to sit there without doing anything. Someone is putting money on DSE even though they see sometimes share going down because this local open market stock exchange, sometimes people are treating them as a saving account, while there is a lot of opportunity for the startups and for the local SMEs to grow so that they can grow those money. And for the local investor, most of the time they want to hear this expertise advisory from the financial institution, which banks they're playing a big role. I believe if banks they're into that, it can open that market. Why is the banks they don't have that opening local investment startups? We are waiting for someone to get money from outside and put it on your account.
So my view would be it's the timing. I do believe fintechs or technology companies or tech companies, it's still a new phenomenon in Tanzania. Although there are companies that have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
You need investors that have understanding of that industry and knowing that it takes a patient capital sometimes to keep on investing and investing. You and I know Amazon became profitable after so long.
Yeah.
So if it went for patient investors or patient capital, they wouldn't be where they are today. So it takes that kind of understanding. And we are seeing, that area improving. And I think year on year, we see, fintechs raising money or tech companies raising money, even from the local market. So it takes educating. It takes education to educate these investors.
Yeah.
If you're willing to wait for 15 years for your money, you can invest in this area, and the potential and the business case and the use cases can scale, and we can have our own Tanzanian unicorn companies.
Yeah.
Why maybe financial institutions are not there yet in terms of buying equity from these companies? I think it's the structure of how to do it. So if I have a bank, or I'm a bank and I need to invest, we are regulated, as I said, so you need to create another vehicle. So maybe create a holding company that you can create a fund and invest in these companies. And that takes a while. It takes time, it takes dialogues to educate the various stakeholders, because the banking sector is a very important sector. It takes the economy, it takes the depositors' funds.
Yeah.
So you need to trade carefully. We see a lot happening in South Africa, whereby banks are investing in tech companies. A little bit in Kenya, but we will get there. And I think the good thing about Tanzania is we're good at leapfrogging. So once the phenomenon catches up, I do believe that you see many players. So it takes a lot to have the local investors, and I'm talking about banks, the local investors, wealthy individuals, to understand the tech ecosystem, to understand the returns, and to understand the future.
I remember hearing the story of mobile money. Even when the Telcos started mobile money, they went to the bank and said, why don't we partner 50-50 and to take this to the market? But the banks, they didn't see that as something which it can grow. But we also wonder, why didn't the bank saw that while all the money which were transacted by telco, they are going to the bank. So banks were happy to deposit that money, but not innovating to growth for that money. Do you think that was one of the major failure for the bank in terms of partnership or being open-minded? Or what kind of other failure which you have encountered in terms of the corporate side?
Okay, I see you're trying to put me on the spot here. So I'm very careful. I shouldn't say something that would get me into trouble. I wouldn't call it a failure. I would call it a missed opportunity. But I think as an industry, I think the banking industry has learned quickly, and they're now innovating. Agency banking, billions of, not even shillings, but billions of dollars in dollar terms, are transacted in the agency banking across the industry. At that time, the MNOs, took an advantage of the underbanked population.
Yeah.
And it had paid. They've built fantastic infrastructure in terms of the last mile. And the banks have also benefited from that in terms of using the same infrastructure to roll out agents across the country.
Yeah.
So I would say a missed opportunity, but lessons learned. And that's why you see now, financial institutions forging partnerships with fintechs that are innovating in that space. In areas of underbanked. And as I said earlier, the opportunity is still massive. Yeah. An interesting point of view is I get asked, we in some from my team, we've launched a number of products and from Stanbic from last year, starting with a chatbot, partnership with Ramani, and the dealer finance partnership with the oil marketing companies, incubator. And I get asked, but it seems people are copying. And I said it's a good thing. Yeah. It's a good thing because the opportunity is massive, and the more the merrier. So let's serve the unbanked and the unhappily banked customers as well, because there are many of those. So there are some customers, because cost to serve from a bank point of view could be maybe expensive for them to have, or for the bank to hold banking accounts for them. There's they're happily served in wallets. So let financial institutions innovate, partner with wallet players, or come up with their own wallets. So I cannot call it a failure, but it was a missed opportunity, and the banks learned quickly, the financial institutions learned quickly. And as you can see in terms of the numbers, the industry has become profitable. It continues to be profitable year on year with growth rates. And again, thanks for the Tanzania context to the sixth government. Honorable Dr. Samia Suluhu is doing great work in terms of opening up the economy. So that also informs, the growth that you're seeing from the banking sector, because you get many people becoming wealthier, you get many businesses being established, and they're getting into the financial sector. So it was a missed opportunity on the mobile money wallet, but I think the industry has learned, and they're innovating and partnering with the telcos and fintechs in forging the financial inclusion agenda forward.
Yeah, and I've seen that, when one institution accepting a certain part of, innovation to partner, others might see as your competitors' institution are copying. But I think what I wanted to encourage, especially for you on the executive level, it's more of trying to say and take risk as more yes as possible, because one yes maybe within the Stanbic Bank, it's actually opening another more than 30 yes to other 30 banks, which means, because if one institution see that you're doing it and they want to do the same, but they cannot do with that startup which we have partnered with, that means they will start saying another yes, maybe more than 30 to 50 yes to another startups, which we are continuing opening the economy. We are making it challenge, and they even challenge the person who said yes at first, because these other people will improve and make sure it's actually going to happen, and that's how we change the consumer deliverables, and we are looking forward to see that more and more. But you see, I think, Fred, the most important thing here as a leader, we believe that you have faced a lot of different challenges, success, failure, and everything in between, because no growth comes without pain and celebration. And for SME entrepreneurs, startup, and the other leaders, a lot of leaders which they want to pass your ladder, but it's just because you top executive people, you're not talking about those kind of things. But just in summary, what has been your lesson in terms of the failure, which you did a certain decision, because on executive it's all about decision making, which didn't go well? Which one did you do which actually went well and you are proud of it? And what were the lessons learned?
I would like to correct you that I'm not a top executive. I'm still learning. I'm on my journey. Okay. I still believe I've got a lot to learn. Every day I try to tell myself that I need to learn and become better every day. Talking about the lessons, I think to aspiring leaders and to entrepreneurs, I do think that one skill that I think has worked very well for me is perseverance, is grit, not giving up. You know, fail fast, fail forward. And people are going to talk. If you launch a product maybe that will fail or has failed, when they, you get people that are talking and pointing fingers, you should not stop and say maybe I shouldn't innovate. Learn from it, then move forward. I'm very fortunate to have worked in organizations that and with great bosses that have allowed for me to experiment with the team in launching new propositions, some outside of comfort zone or from traditional way of doing things, and that has helped greatly. Not all of them have been successful. They're failures, but I think I would like to recognize that having the leadership or support system that allows you to fail and innovate. And we've had success also in terms of in my career journey. My message or my advice would be perseverance, grit, don't give up, stay humble, stay grounded. Let your work talk. You don't have to publish that I've done this and whatnot. So sometimes I get young chaps that trying to oversell themselves, which is a good thing. It's a good trait. But I think if you let your work talk, it speaks louder than the noise. And also network. You're not an island. And to leaders, you're not. And I tell myself deliberately, intentionally, that I'm not the smartest person in the room. Every time I'm in a meeting, I try to listen to the ideas of others and let the best ideas win. Because I think one mistake that we make is, and I've come to learn about this, is when you give an opinion to your team, if you've not created an environment whereby they can challenge your ideas, your ideas tend to stand out. And sometimes maybe they're not the smartest ideas. So you need to create a room whereby you listen to your teams, and let them challenge you. Allow for the best ideas to win. So if you come to my meetings or the meetings in my department, if you do not know who the leader is, you do not know, because sometimes debates getting hotter, and it's nothing personal. You let the best ideas win. And your role as a leader is to back your people and to support them. Allow for them to fail also, because I've had that privilege. I also pass it on. I allow for my people to fail, because it's important. You get the lessons. There's one book, and I recommend it to entrepreneurs and leaders. It's called Failing to Win. It's a very good book. It's about a Zambian fintech that started and failed. But that the learnings that you get from that book is priceless.
And maybe on top of that, what are the importance now for having mentors, coaches, and co-partner in between? Because most of the growth sometimes come from this type of element, in terms of other people, they have physical mentors, but others, they choose to have a digital virtual mentors, even though you're encouraging let your work speak. You should not speak. But with the digital channel nowadays, it's important to speak about your work so that you have as many virtual people who you'll be mentoring without knowing, so that they will learn within the output of work, within the success, and within the failure. Though most of the people, they are not want to display the failure. It's all about winning, but that's important. How is that mentorship and coaches being part of your leadership success?
And it is very important. I think mentors are very important in one's career because they've walked in a journey before you. Yeah. They've made mistakes. They've learned from mistakes. So there's doesn't mean that you'll have to go through that journey alone and make the same mistakes. So I've benefited from mentorship. Yeah. I've benefited from coaches, and I've benefited working for a great organization. I'm in Stanbic Tanzania, which is part of the Stanbic Bank Group, where I get support in terms of mentorship within the organization and coaches. Yeah, that's important. But I also have mentors outside the bank, outside of my work area. I also have Gen Z mentors. Yeah,
very important.
Because I get to learn new ideas and I get to learn how they think. So I learn, as I said, and it's important to have mentors. And one area that I think is an area of improvement, because I also mentor young people, is that commitment and making time. So it's not fashionable. It's not only fashionable to say that I have a mentor, but have a mentor, book their calendar. Don't expect, because oftentimes they have busy schedules. So you need to be intentional. Have an agenda. When you're given, homework, go read this book or go do a case study on this project. Come back with, with what you've learned. So you'd find I get requests from people, but the first test is I give them work and said, go and read this book. Come and tell me what you've learned from it. Or go do this project, or go even to Mbagala and see how the transactions are being done, in terms of be it a new technology that has emerged or whatnot. So you'd find that oftentimes most people don't come back. They disappear. But the ones that are really intentional and they want to learn, they come back and they put in the work. So that's the message that I would say.
Yeah, maybe for that people feel like, am I going back to school? Is this examination or what? But again, it's all about showing that you are committed, and of course to have that basic understanding, so that when mentors sit with you, trying to measure the level of your mindset and knowledge into that specific topic.
Maybe, sorry, before I forget, another aspect that I wanted to, learnings that I think it is important is self-awareness. Yeah. Be self-aware. Yeah. Take time to know who you are, and take time to, obtain feedback. You see, don't run away from feedback. And we all have areas of improvement. Even the best leaders in this world, they still have working on their areas of improvement. You need to embrace that. Learn to say no. Don't take on too many projects just because you're good, because at the end of the day you end up being overwhelmed and failing to deliver. So I wanted to maybe just to give context to my earlier message of letting the work do the talking. I'm not saying that people should not post on LinkedIn. I myself post on LinkedIn. I like to share my thoughts. But I think you need to strike a balance. Sharing your thoughts and letting the people know what you do. But I think from my experience, doing the actual work will give you more mileage than, I would say, self-promoting. Yeah.
And I think, you put it very well, and those are important, as you said, mentor and coaches, not only in business, but also on your health, on your family management, on your people skills management, because all of this is when it's going to balance for the mind to be ready and open for new challenges in terms of business. Of course, in summer we talk a lot of things. We talk about the past, especially we are talking about the SMEs and MSMEs. We have seen the whole journey, and you yourself have been included from the telco point of view, from technology point of view, from the gig economy point of view, from creators economy point of view. But now we are on the ground whereby most of the infrastructure in Africa, or especially even here in Tanzania, with the digital enabling, a lot of things are now open and people are open to practice. Even as you said, financial institution, telco, FMCG and others, they are open to collaborate with other innovators and even company to company to do so. What is the future of this small and mid-sized business? If we are to sit today and someone look into this Executive Echo podcast in the next 10 years, what is your prediction for the future of SMEs? And where do you see Fred participating into that future, if you believe in that future?
I do believe that the future is exciting. Mm-hmm. We're already starting to see pockets of success and pockets of innovation. Mm-hmm. I think the SME of the future is a digital savvy SME, participating in the digital economy, leveraging on the infrastructure that is being built now, doing the record keeping technologically, no longer on, no more on pen and paper. We see them financially included more than they are now. Yes. Because by doing that, they're already in platforms that they can be assessed and scored. I see the SME of the future, especially in the context of Tanzania and African economy, taking advantage of opportunities such as of AfCFTA, the trade bloc, and then the trade initiative. I see the SME of the future more wealthier than they are today. I see, from a banking point of view, I see a different kind of landscape in terms of products. Your traditional products will be, in my view, at a very minimal level. There'll be products tailor-made to specific SMEs with specific needs. I see the SME of the future leveraging on AI. And I see the SME of the future fueling the economy of this country. We're already starting to see them demanding their seat at the table from a policy maker's point of view to how they are being assessed in terms of the tax framework. They want to get the same benefits as investors that are coming into the country. So I see the SME of the future bold and daring. And in terms of where do I see myself?
Where do you see yourself? Because you believe them so much.
Well, I believe that the experience that I have, that I've gathered over the years, I do believe, God willingly, that I will still be guiding, coaching, and providing leadership and supporting the SMEs and startups in one way or the other. Whether I'm still in the banking sector, because we're talking about 10 years, it's a long time coming. So whether I'm in the banking sector or I'm doing something else, but I will be very much participating in that digital economy.
Thank you very much, Fred, and I think you have unpacked it very well, and with all neat and gritty points of who the SME of the future should be in the next 5 to 10 years, which means all of them should start today and try now to shorten that period until when you are becoming ready. There should be a way far from your side. That is to say, it's a great time for people to start investing on SME, not just sitting on the corporate investment. We have learned a lot. I wish we could have unlimited time, but time is capped. We need to let the SME go and do the work. Enough with the talk.
Yeah.
But maybe just as a closer, thank you across all the team. What is that one word you want to the SME, you want to the business people, you want to the collaborator, the partner, the supporting institution, the investors, the government, and all 360 enabler to have as from your side? Collaborate.
Yeah.
And collaborate to grow, not collaborate to
collaborate.
Yeah.
Collaboration is the new competition.
Collaboration is the
You just need to find your niche and compete, but collaboration is inevitable.
Yeah.
You can't do everything. You can't innovate everything.
Yeah.
So work with innovators, support innovators, and realize that the opportunity in the pool, the opportunity pool is so big,
Yeah.
and everyone can benefit from it.
Yeah. Collaboration it's very key, and for us innovators, we have been taking advantage into that to push until it's done. And for us at SAG, Smart Africa Group, our main keyword is always saying, we want to be your growth partner. That means you're already open for collaboration. So we are taking that into the heart. Fred, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting your busy time, and see you in the success of the future.
Thank you. Thank you for
Asante
having me.
sana.